I'm married. I've got three kids. They're like 10, 8, and 6 years old. And I got into Bitcoin in 2012. Like bought my first coins in 2012 when it was like under $100.
What's your most like embarrassing trade or investment? It could be some, altcoin or something like that.
Easy, easy. I bought Trump coin at the absolute top. I just was like on the Coinbase app or on the Kraken app or something. And I was just looking and I didn't even know that Trump had launched a coin, but I just checked in Bitcoin price and saw that there was a Trump coin. I was like, I'll buy that, but at least I didn't trade any of my Bitcoin. When people say I'm going to hold Bitcoin forever, like what's the point of that?
End of 2025, end of this year, where do you think Bitcoin is on December 31st?
I would say around 200K.
200K. All right, I'll take it. We'll pull the receipt.
That's based on looking at other people's statistical analysis and my own vibes.
I'm super excited to chat with you and really excited to introduce you, Myles Dhillon. Yeah, really happy you hopped on today, and we've already chatted a little bit before this, so I'm super excited to just ask you some questions and let people hear your story. So,
thanks, man.
Yeah, you have an amazing sort of new X account, big traveler, and an amazing Bitcoin journey. So why don't you give a quick intro, introduce yourself, and then we'll jump into some of the fun stuff.
All right, man. Yeah, so I'm married. I've got three kids. They're like 10, 8, and 6 years old. And I got into Bitcoin in 2012. Like bought my first coins in 2012 when it was like under $100. And I didn't understand Bitcoin at all. But the guy who told me about Bitcoin, he understood it like we understand it now, which I didn't realize until recently how unique that was to have someone who understood the economic value of Bitcoin and how it was this new monetary system. I just thought it was cool, freedom money, like a way to away from banks and do transactions with each other. Nothing illegal, but I've been traveling now with my wife and my kids since January. We actually just got back to our home country in the UK for, I don't know, a couple of weeks probably, or a couple of months maybe back here. But yeah, I've got a background in construction. I did a bit of music, had a bit of a mixed career in my early 20s. And then I've been running a plumbing and heating business in the UK for the last 9 years, nearly 10. But I just sold that before Christmas, before we went traveling, not for like a Silicon Valley kind of exit, but enough to give me some breathing space. And it's been amazing. Like that has been kind of the Fiat cherry for me, is selling the plumbing business, because I just feel the more I've learned about Bitcoin and the more I've saved in Bitcoin over the years, the more it's had an impact on my life in a positive way. It's made me feel free to make the sort of choices that you would make if not that it's, my stack is not enough to retire me forever or retire my bloodline or whatever the Bitcoin phrase is, but it makes me realize, okay, if this is what we all believe it is, we're going to be okay in the future. So I should not, instead of spending my Bitcoin now, I should just live in a way which gives the most meaning to me and my family and gives my children the best experience of the world and education. So that's kind of what we've been doing. We're homeschooling our kids, traveling around, visiting stuff, visiting people, having dinner with amazing people doing cool stuff in Asia. And yeah, Bitcoin is kind of, I don't know, I want to be like, it's changed my life. It hasn't changed my life as much as getting married changed my life, but it has had a big impact on my life.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And that's exactly what it does. And you got in super early. I mean, sub $100, people dream about those kind of entries. The hard part is just holding and doing nothing. Yeah. Well, first of all, amazing story, right? I think all of us wish we had, to quote unquote, enough to retire our bloodline. And you're thinking about it the right way, at least in my opinion, is, what do you leave for the next generation, right? And for the kids and for their kids. And that's definitely something that's kind of in a sense, the ethos behind Bitcoin in terms of its scarcity and, what's the point of saving fiat and buying stocks and stuff when you have such an amazing vehicle in terms of value and how it changes over time, like you see now with the banks, with the ETFs, right? With US Congress passing bills about it. It's something people dreamed about 5 years ago, and now it's actually coming to fruition. So I did want to ask you, when did you, I know you mentioned 2011. Was that the first time you actually bought Bitcoin? Like what finally made it click for you? Was it that person who suggested it to you, or did you do some of your own research? Like how did you actually, I guess, dive into the rabbit hole?
Yeah, I mean, we went out for dinner with this couple that we met. We were living in India at the time. My wife had a job in India, and we went out for dinner with this Canadian couple because we just met another English-speaking young couple. We're like, oh, we could be friends because there's like not that many people around that we knew. So we went out for dinner and somehow we got into Bitcoin. He had this like fiery South American wife. And he said, we could pay in Bitcoin. And she was like, Bitcoin. He's already talking about Bitcoin. And I was like, what's Bitcoin? And she said, and then she looked at my wife and was like, let's chat, sort of like me and you. And those two can talk about Bitcoin. He told me about this thing. And I was like, what are you talking about? What is there? Money that's created by someone and people are trading in it? So I was like, my head was already blown by this whole idea. And I went home that night. We got back late, but I just stayed up, just trying to jump on the forums. And I was like finding stuff that Satoshi was actually writing in forums. I was trying to find some private forums. I was trying to get into forums that Satoshi was writing on and just doing everything like to try and learn about it. And then I spent the next week trying to buy some Bitcoins, like texting my new friend. And it took me a long time to buy it. It was complicated and my bank kept blocking payments and I had to call back to the UK. But I didn't really understand it like I understand it now because I sold those coins and then traded them a bit, then rebought them at like $1,000. And like, I didn't understand it. If I understood it, I would have bought more. And people always say to me, man, you're lucky. If I knew about Bitcoin when you did, I would have bought loads. I put thousands in. Like, no, you wouldn't.
Yeah,
I didn't have any money at that. Yeah. I mean, I didn't have any money at that stage. So spending like a couple of $100s on Bitcoin was a chunk of my bank balance at that time. I didn't really earn any money, really. We were just about covering expenses. When you're in that newly married stage, you just started working. We didn't really know about personal finance as well. So spending a couple of $100s on Bitcoin was a huge investment for me. And I just thought, I think I've just wasted this, but I kind of like this cool idea. So I'm just going to get into it just to play around. And it was many years before I really understood Bitcoin. It wasn't until, I don't know, like the podcast, What Bitcoin Did launched, or when Preston Pish started talking about Bitcoin. It was around that time, probably 2018, when I really started understanding what it was that I owned.
I wonder where she is now, the South American woman who was like, let them talk about Bitcoin.
Do you know what? I reckon they're like, I think that he in the time we were in India, I don't want to dox him actually too much because I reckon they're still around, but he was a very clever guy. He was working in robotics and he was working on some Bitcoin projects. I hope they're doing well because it wouldn't have been just me that he told about Bitcoin. He was telling everyone about it. And I mean, I hope they're doing blessed,
Yeah, he's probably in the south of France somewhere on a boat enjoying some wine.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's so cool. That's so different to sort of how I found out about it. I was, it's funny you mentioned it actually, like looking on forums for stuff. And that was such a different era in 2011. It was all forums. There was no real social media conglomerates. They were just kind of starting. And I actually learned about Bitcoin. I used to be on a forum called Off Topic, where it's kind of like X, where people just post kind of anything about whatever. And that's where I actually first found out about it. And down the rabbit hole I went, right? And like you, I bought some, I sold some, I bought some again, I sold some again. So yeah, it's been a really interesting journey. I think that's the crazy part, right? Is we are all where we are today, but everyone has a different path, right? So everyone has sort of a different outlook. And that's why I kind of love these. What do you think in terms of Bitcoin itself, right? Do you see it more like an asset, like money? Do you see it more like, a sort of philosophical movement or, freedom coin? Like, what is your kind of just outlook on it as a whole?
I think I've gone through different stages. So I think for me, what I really care about is telling other people about Bitcoin now, right? Because it's made a big difference to my life. And I think that depending on who you're talking to, you have to kind of present Bitcoin in a different way. It's like that analogy of the 10 blind people touching an elephant for the first time. One person saying it's like a snake because it's touching the trunk. The other one's saying it's like a tree because I'm holding the leg. The other one's saying it's like a flannel because I'm holding the ear. It's like however you got into Bitcoin and the way it's impacted your life is how you can kind of describe it differently to other people. So for example, for my friends who are like tradies or like construction guys, I would just say to them, look, man, you work your ass off. Bitcoin is like the best savings account you can get. We see those comparisons of like savings accounts and it's crap. It's like 3% from this one. And if you lock it up, you get 5 or 6% in this one. There's like such a small difference between them. And when you look over 10-year span, you're not really ending up with very much at the end of a 10-year savings cycle. But I'm like, Bitcoin is like up there. And those others are all down here in terms of income percentage gains. So don't worry about Bitcoin as a kind of speculative asset. Just think about it as a savings account and just sweep your money from your current account, your checking account, into your savings, which is Bitcoin. And that's how I'm describing it to sort of regular dudes. But then if I've got a friend who's like, while we've been traveling, there's been a load of people who are like trying to avoid or just not happy with the way the West is going, the way that Western economies are moving, and the way that like, it's becoming a lot more control from government top down. Those kind of libertarian guys, I'm saying, guys, this Bitcoin thing is for you. You can take your money and memorize the code, the seed phrase, and you can bounce out of that economy into a more hospitable place where you like the government. And I've like orange pilled one friend in that way, saying you can just get out and they can't take it from you. They could kill you, but they still can't take your Bitcoin. And that's different to gold. And then why? Because if they kill you, they could still take your gold by force, but they can't take your Bitcoin if it's memorized. So I think there's like different ways. But at the moment for me, I look at my stack as a savings account, really, as a sort of pristine savings account.
Got it. Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And yeah, exactly what you said, right? Where people are putting their sort of fiat money in savings. And I think you said 3 to 5%. And it's even less than that. You're actually losing value year over year because of inflation, right? Because they're printing more, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's definitely the escape hatch out of the current unfortunate position, right? Especially with like wealth inequality, right? It's absolutely crushing the middle and lower class. I don't know how it is in the UK, but definitely in the US. Yeah. So let's get into something else. I guess the more fun, since you do know some of the macro stuff, right? Liquidity and kind of interest rates and the business cycle, all that stuff. Now that we've had ETFs launch, right? You see all this news about, at least in the US, the government passing the Genius Act and all the sort of crypto bills. You have all the big fund managers. You have Bitcoin Treasury companies, right? Obviously, MicroStrategy being the most popular. You have MetaPlanet. You have other companies just starting to put Bitcoin basically on their balance sheets. Do you think that with all of this happening, has Bitcoin structurally changed in your opinion? Like, do you think we'll ever get another true bear market again where we, come down 80%, 90%, something like that? Or do you think the volatility is now kind of going to go down and we're kind of muted? We won't see as big of pullbacks.
I think it depends on what happens at the end of this run. I think we're still in a bull run now. So I think we're still going to see prices run up a bit more. I'm like slightly burnt and have a bit of PTSD from the last cycle when we hit $69,000 and I didn't take any profit because I was waiting for 100K because
so was everybody else.
I thought Plan B was the guy. He very smartly was totally anonymous the whole time because he was making such confident predictions and everybody was listening to him. All the cleverest people were. So I'm interested to see what happens this cycle. I think if we run up to like 200K, then I think we'll see a bit of a muted pullback for a few years. I'm waiting to see if governments start printing money at a crazy level. I know that the debt ceiling needs to rise in the US soon-ish. And how are they going to handle that? I'm waiting for our country to start printing some money because we've got big problems with deficits and overspending. So I think if we hit around 200K at the end of this year, I think that will be a reasonable blow off top. If we hit 150 or 160, I think we'll see a very muted decline and people will start buying it around 110, 120K. So that will be like a 40% drawdown. I don't think we're going to see an 80% drawdown unless we see the price run up to some of the crazy numbers that Adam Back will be predicting, like $1 million this cycle, or 500. If we see $500,000 this cycle, I'm going to sell pretty much all my stack and know for sure that we're going to see a massive drawdown.
Yeah. If we see 500,000 or $1 million, you will never see me again. No, I'm just kidding. But that's.
I think if we see sort of reasonable pumps, from here 120K up to like 160, I think I'll take a bit of profit maybe, but I'm not going to sell my whole stack because I just won't know. I'm a bad trader and I'm not really in it to trade. I'm just going to use some of my stack to improve my life, but I'm not good enough to be able to understand what's going to happen in the next thing. I think we'll see 160. Then I think we could all agree that we're going to see a normal cycle this time around, where we'll see there, and then we'll see it come back down to 100, and 100 will be the ceiling. 100 will be the new ceiling for Bitcoin. And then we might see a sideways move for the next couple of years until the next hardening. And then in between now and the next halving, who knows what's going to happen with M2 supply? Who knows what's going to happen with interest rates? Anything can happen. But I think between now and the end of the year, it's not enough time to see interest rates get completely slashed. And I don't think government's going to start printing money at a crazy rate. But between now and the next halving, who knows what's going to happen in the world? And we might just have another like large military conflict. And then governments just like get the money printer going burr. And then we'll see in the next cycle. That's when we're going to see 500K. That's when we're going to see $1 million.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's definitely a super level-headed take. And it's nice to hear someone also being self-aware. Like you said it yourself, I'm not great at trading, so I'm just going to do nothing and sit on my hands and kind of wait. And I totally agree with that. I mean, you never can really be sure, right? That's part of the game, right? Black swans happen all the time. That's why they're called black swan events, is because you can't see them. But I think we have a lot of runway. There's some people saying that this is it. This is the top 120. I really don't think so. A lot of the stuff I do is, around the business cycle and, around liquidity and everything like that. And pretty much the consensus is 2026, sometime early in 2026 is a good time to kind of take chips off the table, for lack of a better word. So cool. I'd love to ask you a fun question. And you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, because I know I have a lot of these, but what's your most like embarrassing trade or investment? It could be some, altcoin or something like that.
Easy. I bought Trump coin at the absolute top.
Okay.
Right. I just was like on the Coinbase app or on the Kraken app or something. And I was just looking and I didn't even know that Trump had launched a coin, but I just checked in Bitcoin price and saw that there was a Trump coin. I was like, I'll buy that $1,000 just straight into it. Yeah. I bought it at the absolute peak. Just to satisfy that degen trading feel that I've got. So in some ways, it's like $1,000 down, but at least I didn't trade any of my Bitcoin. But that's an embarrassing trade that I actually feel like people might hate on me for a real Bitcoiner because you bought Trump. Yeah, sorry everyone. I wish I hadn't bought that, but because I feel like less than losing the money, it's more the shame of knowing that I just got drawn in.
Yeah, I mean, we all have those for sure. I probably have too many to list. I forget what it was last cycle, but yeah, I had a really terrible bag of basically like meme coins that all pretty much went to zero. So it's crazy because people don't talk about that anymore, right? It started with such a bang, the whole Trump coin, and then you had Melania coin, right? I feel really bad for the people holding that as well. I think actually Trump coin, if we do get a quote unquote Altseason, it should do fine along with everything else. Do you think there's going to be an Altseason this time around? It seems like it's maybe starting now.
Warming up.
Yeah,
it is warming up, I think. I mean, I don't follow it enough, but you see the alts and on crypto Twitter, you see people posting about the alts sometimes. I mean, Ethereum's got a long way to run before we even get, like I posted the other day, like birthday balloons, Ethereum's only 43% below its all-time high. I mean, it must be like 38% below its all-time high now or something like that. It's got a long way to run. It's really, even if we have an Altseason and Ethereum 2X's from here, which would be like really a big move. Yeah. And I don't know why it would make such a big move in that way, because I don't think it's trash. I just think a 2X from here would be a lot. It's still not like it's just not a great investment. If you bought it as an investment, because you're definitely not buying it as a store of value, you're buying it as an investment or a gamble. It's still not good from where the all-time high, in 2021, I think it was. I don't know. I think the nature of people always want to gamble, and it's the way that we got convicted about Bitcoin. I think is because we messed around with all the altcoins for a while, and so you can't blame other people when they get in and do that. Even people who I thought I'd orange pilled into Bitcoin, I speak to them a few months later, and I'm like, "Did you allocate to Bitcoin?" And like, yeah, I put like 60% into Bitcoin, and then I bought this other one called Fart Coin, and like this other. I'm like, what? I didn't tell you about Fart Coin, but they said, yeah, I just did like 20% Fart Coin, 20% Solana. Okay, cool. Like, hopefully you've held it for long enough, then you're going to be okay, like with the Bitcoin allocation. So I think there will be a bit of an alt season, but from what I can see, like Bitcoin dominance has fallen a little bit, but it doesn't feel like new money, like a lot of new money is moving into alts. It feels like the vast majority of new money is still moving into Bitcoin. And I think even those sort of sophisticated traders have now understood that those other coins are gambling, like buying penny stocks, and Bitcoin is the sort of long-term asset to hold. I think that is becoming the prevailing narrative in this cycle.
Yeah. No, I think you hit the nail on the head. And it's crazy to me because if you bought ETH at 4K, you're still underwater, like 30, 40%, which is nuts. Yeah. And it's the most ridiculous memes for every cycle. Like you said, Fartcoin. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. For me, it's kind of interesting because I do I do like ETH as a play this cycle only because, I forget who said this to me, but it's a really good take. Once all the Bitcoin treasury companies sort of make their way and say, we're doing this, right? What's the next play? Like for smaller companies that maybe think we're too late for Bitcoin or it's too expensive for us, we'll do a ETH treasury company, right? So there is that sort of secondary narrative, which I think could give it some room to run. But yeah, like you said, it's still 30% off the highs, and it's crazy. Yeah.
No, I think there could be an ETH Altseason because, or even, I mean, Ethereum is probably the next play because for every person we know who's messaged us to say, should I buy Bitcoin or should I buy Ethereum? There's a company CFO thinking the same thing as well.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. For me, I'm just waiting for my mom to text me about, hey, how's Bitcoin doing? Because that's the ultimate top signal. And that's generally how I know when to sell. So let me ask you this one, because people kind of forget this, but Bitcoin generally is really boring. Like most of the moves percentage wise happen in like 20 or 30 days in terms of the biggest percentage gains. How do you stay sort of convicted when things do get really boring or really ugly? Do you just log off, close the screens, or like what is your go-to move?
My go-to move is to talk to my wife and say, do you think I should take profit? And she's like, I thought you were like, I'm in Bitcoin forever. I'm going to hold it forever. Like, yeah, I did say that. So why are you going to sell it? Right? No, I'm not. I just sort of get worried that I should sell it. I'm being dumb. But I think that is a PTSD from the last cycle, like we were just saying, that when people say, I'm going to hold Bitcoin forever, like, what's the point of that? That doesn't make any sense. And when guys who are, I mean, I'm not like a young guy anymore. I feel like I'm sort of approaching my sort of more wise years, or I think that I am. When guys on Crypto X say, I'm 100% net worth allocated to Bitcoin, like all my net worth is in Bitcoin, I'm like, okay, cool. Like that's fine for you because you're living in your mum's like spare room and you just got car finance. It's your only thing. It's fine for you to have 100% of your net worth in Bitcoin because you don't have any responsibilities really. Right. When you start having responsibilities and you think about retiring and you're thinking, I don't want to be crawling around someone's basement running copper pipes when I'm 65, you start thinking, I am going to sell my Bitcoin one day so I don't have to do that forever. You might be thinking, I'm 100% allocated to Bitcoin because I'm in my mum's house and she cooks me dinner and washes my underwear. Cool. You are actually a Bitcoin dealer. That is actually almost a definition of it, because that doesn't bring other people into Bitcoin, that kind of 100% allocated chat. What I think brings people in a bit more is more sort of sensible, not even sensible, just more reasonable to a newbie kind of Bitcoin chat.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I think, there are ways to, and this will be for maybe another time, another conversation, but there are ways to completely keep your Bitcoin, not sell it, but still get fiat to live your life, right? You could take a loan with collateral. People are doing that now in terms of like putting up your Bitcoin as collateral and stuff like that. So there are interesting things you can do, but so let me ask you this one. And I think you kind of insinuated that probably yes, since, you are kind of, I don't know, for lack of a better term, preaching the Bitcoin gospel, but do your real life friends, like the people around you day to day, know you're into this, or are you kind of low key about it?
Yeah, I think all my friends know I'm into Bitcoin now. I think in the last cycle, I would occasionally post on my personal Instagram or X, like, you should buy Bitcoin, everyone. And people would think I'm trying to scam them or something. I don't know what they're thinking. But now I think that the setup of the podcast, and I've done a few posts where I'm sort of jokingly saying to people, please go and like subscribe to my podcast because I'm all in on this. I'm not doing anything else. This is the only thing I'm doing right now. And I don't think I'm going to become like Joe Rogan from the Bitcoin podcast, but it is an interesting way to connect with other people. Like we're sort of connected with each other. Mm-hmm. So I think most of my friends know that I'm all in on Bitcoin. It's kind of weird because it's sort of like when you see, not like your close friends, but some sort of wider friends, it's like you've got this dirty secret that they know that you know, and you know taboo. That you're talking about Bitcoin.
Yep.
And what I want to try and break is that taboo around it. And also that feeling that we as Bitcoiners think we're really cool because we bought it at a lower price and the price is up right now. I want to try and say to people, no. It's a savings technology. You should be saving a bit of it's not a way to, I think we get lumped in with that retire early crew.
To get rich quick.
I want to continue to work, man, because I think it brings real purpose to our lives. And I don't think the goal of human beings was to try and get rich as fast as possible and retire when you're 32. I think that is very depressing because there's no one to hang out with, because all your other friends are. I actually know a private equity guy who's a lot older than us who sold he made about, I don't know if he sold his business or he just did so many deals in his business that he actually did retire when he was 35 on millions and millions, just squillions of dollars, right? And then he played golf for a bit. He went around the world on a yacht, and then he came back to the UK when he was 37, and they just started having children. And he was so bored because all his friends were working. They're in the peak of their career. And he realized that that doesn't bring any meaning to your life. So the people that I meet, the taboo friend situation, I think actually it's better just to say to those people, I'm not trying to exit life and just sort of live on a boat. I actually think that we should continue to work, and you should not think that Bitcoin is a way for you to stop working. It's a way for you to continue giving value to the world through your skills, but have a way to be able to enjoy your life and look after yourself when you get older, or look after your kids as they get to college age.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's such a refreshing point of view. And I totally agree with that. Like sometimes I'll take a couple of days off, just to do nothing and sit at home. And I'm so bored by day two. Like I have a list to do and I did everything already. I'm like, I have to work. There's nothing to do.
Yeah.
You'll just get insanely bored. So let's jump into the sort of lightning round. And these will be super quick, like kind of shotgun. And you just tell me what you think on each thing. So price prediction. These are always fun. You kind of already probably said what you think it's going to be, but end of 2025, end of this year, where do you think Bitcoin is on December 31st?
I would say around 200K.
200K. All right, I'll take it. We'll pull the receipt.
That's based on looking at other people's statistical analysis and my own vibes.
I like it. I like it. All right. Favorite X account to follow right now?
I kind of like watching Sailor, like when you see him posting the dots. Or there's some UK Bitcoiners that I really like. There's like Scott BTC. There's Ashley Giles. They're kind of the people that I like at the moment. There's Bitcoin Policy UK. They're really cool Bitcoiners to follow because it's kind of really good for the context we're in. And we're so early in the UK, like there's no government. There's only one Treasury company. It feels like we're so behind the USA that those guys are sort of banging the drum for UK Bitcoin. I think we're like several years away from being in the place where you guys are at. So it's cool to watch them, and they're starting to have a small bit of impact, and it's moving things forward, I think.
Yeah, no, those are great shout outs. What is one coin that you'd actually hold throughout this cycle?
I mean,
don't say Farcoin.
No, if I was going to buy an altcoin, I think it would be Solana. I don't know enough about it. It's just that, like, friend who I think is clever. He's pretty much like 90% Bitcoin. I think he's got quite a big bag. And then he said he's got 10% Solana that he's going to flip into Bitcoin at the end of the cycle. So, I mean, it's kind of DJ behavior, isn't it? But if his goal is to flip it into Bitcoin, okay, cool, like do it. And if someone gave me some Solana, I would probably just keep it. I probably wouldn't flip it into Bitcoin now. I just hold it and see what happens. But I'm pretty much, those days are over for me, man.
Yeah, I love it. And that's the lowest tier of degen, right? Like Solana, Ethereum, those are pretty much high market cap anyway. So yeah, that's a great answer. So I'll ask you this one, even though it's kind of stupid now that I'm looking at it, but if you had to give someone $100 in Bitcoin or a Bitcoin book, a book about Bitcoin, which one would you give them and why?
Do you know that Jason Williams book? Have you ever seen that guy?
No.
He's the guy with the Pit Viper profile. He's so satirical. Actually, he's one of my favorite guys. I would love to speak to him one day because his book is called Hard Money You Can't With.
Okay.
And it's got the FUCK starred out.
Great title.
Yeah, it's so good. His book is very easy to read. It's very, I don't want to cuss him out because he's highly intelligent, this guy, but he's made the book very low entry for people. And I think anyone could read it. I think if you're giving it to someone who was a bit more into economics, maybe it's a little bit too bro vibes, I think, in the book. But that would be the book that I give to the vast majority of people, or the Bitcoin Standard. I bought the Bitcoin Standard for my friend who's been to an Ivy League university, and she's pretty intelligent, switched on. So I gave that book to her and her husband recently, because you got to pitch it at the right level for somebody, right? But can I give $50 a Bitcoin and the book as well? then they get to ride the price and see it going up and down as well as having the book.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. I'll take it. Awesome, Myles. No, this was super fun. let people know where to sort of follow you. I'll put up all your socials, on the actual video, but yeah, just where
Thanks,
should people
man.
follow you? We're going to get your
Yeah, I
content.
mean, my podcast is Bitcoin for Everyone, so FO everyone, and then that's a really entry level podcast. They're very short episodes for people who don't really know much about Bitcoin or are finding out about it, or you've just bought your first coins and you want to learn. That's kind of my target for people who are getting into Bitcoin. And then my X account is Bitcoin, the number 4EVY1, like you would send it in a text message back in the day, and same on Instagram.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'll put all your stuff in there anyway. Thank you so much also for taking the time out. It's been a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed the questions. And yeah, it'd be great to catch up with you again at some point.
For sure. Bro, I'm looking forward to hearing your other interviews coming up, man.